Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello everyone, welcome back to the another past paper. This past paper is the ISCO past paper. Actually the seat was SDO and it was conducted by NTS. And in this video we will cover MCQs from 31 up to 40. Okay, so the first MCQs is the output voltage of DC power supply dropped from 33 volt at no load to 30 volt at full load. Its load regulation is, so actually we know that the load regulation formula is no load voltage minus full load voltage divided by full load voltage. So putting the value, no load voltage is given to us, that is 33, full load is 30 divided by 30 times 100. So that's will be equal to 3 divided by 30 times 100, and that is equal to 10%. So option D is the correct answer. Okay, next MCQ is, in a Marx generator, the capacitor bank is charged in series and then discharged also in series, parallel and then discharged also in parallel, series and then discharged in parallel, parallel and then discharged in series. So actually the Marx generator, the diagram of the Marx generator is like this. So this is my positive voltage, this is my negative voltage, and this is the DC supply. Here we have spark gap switch, and that is like a trigger is inserted over here in all the spark gaps. So during charging, the capacitor are charged, okay, in parallel, but discharge in series. The current will flow like this. So the capacitor discharge in series or charge in parallel. And we use this Marx generator for the generation of high DC voltage from the low DC voltage. And it is used in, mostly used in physics lab for high energy experiment. Okay, next time goes is, what will happen if the power transformer is designed at higher flux density? Iron losses will be reduced, copper losses will be reduced, power load efficiency will be increased, watt per loss kVA will be reduced. So flux density means your B, and we know that the flux is equal to flux density times area. So if you design the power transformer for high flux density, then for the same flux, the area should be low. So if the area is low, then it means watt will get decreased. So watt per kVA will be reduced. Okay, next MCQ is, in electrostatic voltmeter of the attracted disk type, the force of attraction is proportional to applied voltage square of the applied voltage square of the applied current applied power. So actually the electrostatic voltmeter is used for the measurement of high voltage. And for voltage greater than 10 kilovolt, generally the attracted disk type of electrostatic voltmeter is used for the measurement of the voltage. In this type of the attraction disk type, the energy is equal to 1 by 2 CV square. And as we know that energy is also equal to work done, and that is equal to F dot ds. And it is a DC. There is a, so the force will be equal to W divided by ds, and W is the energy, which is this, so that's 1 by 2 dc by ds into V square. So your force have direct relation with voltage here. So the force of attraction is proportional to the square of the applied voltage. Okay, next MCQ is, What will happen to an FET if the temperature is increased? So FET diagram of the FET is like this. Here we have so this is the diagram of the FET. So as you increase the temperature of the FET, then the mobility of the charge will get decreased. So if the mobility of the charge get decreased in the channel, it means that the current will get reduced throughout the channel. But at the same time, simultaneously, if the temperature get increased, it will also narrow this depletion region of the PN junction. So it will get narrow like this. So now due to which the current ID will get increased. So what will happen if the temperature increase? Tend to increase the mobility of the charge carrier in the channel? No. Tend to decrease the mobility of the charge carrier throughout the channel. So option B will be the correct answer. Okay, next time goes is the value of the IC at 0 VCE on a DC load line of transistor switch represent. So actually the load line, your load line will be like this. Here I will have a current which I will measure in milliampere. Here I will have a voltage which I will measure in millivolt, and so here I have 0 volt, and if I draw the line, so line will be like this. So here I will get IC saturated. This point is the IC saturated, and this point is the VCE, you can say off, which is equal to VCC. So here your VCE will be equal to 0. The value of the IC at 0 VCE on a DC load line of transistors, which represent the saturation point of the transistor. So if your VCE is equal to 0, then it represents the saturation point of the transistor. And this is the DC load line. Okay, next time goes is, if current carrying conductor is placed in a steady magnetic field in such a way that the direction of the current is proportional to the magnetic field direction, it will exert a force, and the direction of the force will be, so actually perpendicular to a direction of current, perpendicular to a direction of current, perpendicular to a direction of magnetic field, perpendicular to both the direction of current and the magnetic field. Yes, actually the force will depend both on the direction of current and magnetic field. And if the magnetic field is in this direction, then the current will be in this direction and force will be in this direction. So all these three components are in perpendicular to each other. And we use the right hand rule to find the direction of the force of the given field and given current direction. So this is the first finger, this is the thumb, this is the first finger, and this is the second finger. So this will be your force. This is right hand rule. So this will be your force, this will be your current, and this will be your magnetic field. So all these three are perpendicular to each other. Okay, next time. Electrodynamometer type instrument can be used to measure AC as well as DC voltage or current, because the torque proportion produced is proportional to the current. The torque produced is proportional to the square of the current. The torque produced is independent of the current. The AC is first converted into DC inside the instrument. So actually the instrument which we used for the measurement of AC plus DC. So that's instrument or rectifier type instrument. We have dynamometer type instrument, and we have thermocouple. Thermocouple is used for AC, or you can use it for DC. This is also used for AC, or you can use it for DC. And this is also used for AC, or you can use it for DC. Normally in our home, we mostly use it as a watt meter. But the disadvantage is that it is costly. And this is, it has less cost, but accuracy is same as like the dynamometer type instrument. It is used at a very high frequency. At very high frequency, we use thermocouple. So in this case, the deflection torque is directly proportional, or you can say that that is equal to I1, I2. I1 is the current in fixed coil, and I2 is the current in moving coil. So the correct option is the torque produced is proportional to the square of the current. Square of the current. Okay, next MCQ is determine the voltage standing wave ratio if the reflected coefficient is minus 0.5. So actually, I discussed in detail about the reflection coefficient in one of my last video of this past paper. Or if you want to see that video, then you need to go to the playlist, and in playlist there you will get a past paper. So in that past paper playlist, you will find that video. So actually, in that video, we discussed that the reflected coefficient that is equal to voltage of the reflected divided by voltage of forward. Or you can define it by like your reflected coefficient that is equal to load impedance minus reference input, load impedance plus reference input. So there is also another relation, that is the standing wave relation with reflected coefficient, and that standing wave relation is equal to 1 plus reflected coefficient divided by 1 minus reflected coefficient. So in this case, reflected coefficient is given to us, and that is minus 0.5. So that's equal to 1 plus minus 0.5 divided by 1 minus 0.5. So that's will be equal to 1 plus 0.5 divided by 1 minus 0.5. So that's will be equal to 1.5 divided by 0.5, and that is equal to 3.0. So option C is the correct answer. Okay, next MCQ is if the speed of the DC shunt generator is double without changing any other parameter, the EMF generated will be. So actually in DC shunt generator, your flux will remain constant. And the relation between speed, flux, and back EMF is that the speed is directly proportional to the back EMF and has an inversely proportional to the flux. So if the EMF get double, then and if this is constant, then the speed will also get double. So option C is the correct answer. Okay, so this is the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Allah Hafiz.